Don't look back, Jackie, don't look back. Look what's coming on down this track. Ring a bell or two, it's so old it's new. Turn around. You and you had big things to do. Gonna change this world here before we're through. We gonna right them wrongs, sing them freedom songs till freedom's won. Now I lay me down to rest. I dream of friends that I love best. The good they done is all that remains. Not a stone left to their name. But I think of those that gave their all, and I wake at the mirror of the world, and I drink to those who wait to remain undone.
I'm L.A.STEEL. This program is part of a 5-part series to inform my viewers of the great and present danger facing our state, our country, and the world. That danger is nuclear power. This series is a tribute to the valiant men and women who have placed their lives, reputations, and livelihoods on the line to speak out against the corruption, evil, and blatant ignorance and incompetence of the management, unions, government agencies, and individuals responsible for the construction, operation, and safety of the Millstone Nuclear Power Plants in Connecticut. Joe Besade, who is featured in this series, is a Northeast utility whistleblower and the Anti Millstone Coalition archivist. Joe has dedicated the last 8 years of his life to this cause, unpaid, underpraised, and under constant threat of his life. He has remained true to the cause and mission to film and document all available information regarding Millstone activity to prevent its reopening and to seek justice against its ongoing violations. To Joe and all the other men and women involved in this great and noble cause, I give my highest regards and respect. Some have lost their lives, families, friends, and professions to disclose the corruption that has placed the lives of millions of people in grave danger. It is because of their unselfish citizenship and the great sacrifices of these courageous men and women that Millstone has been closed down for the last 3 years. We, as citizens of the state and this country, must listen to and realize the debt we owe to these great men and women for their courage, their honor, and their decency. The 4th and 5th program in this series is my interview with attorney Nancy Burton, activist and leader of the Anti Millstone Coalition, a woman of great conviction and determination, to whom we in Connecticut owe a great debt of appreciation.
What I would like to do is to give you what I feel is a personal insight into what whistleblowers in general are subjected to in the nuclear industry. Also, the shortcomings, and that's a very mild word, of the NRC, and what we might do to keep tabs on not just the operators of nuclear power plants, but the regulators and indeed some of the employees as well. I would like to try to give you my impression of what it's like to be a whistleblower at the Millstone Nuclear Power Plant. To be a whistleblower at Millstone is to be governed, to be watched over, inspected, spied upon, directed, legislated at, regulated, docketed, indoctrinated, preached at, controlled, assessed, weighed, censored, and ordered about by men who have neither the right, the knowledge, nor the virtue. At each operation, at each transaction, at each movement, you are noted, registered, controlled, taxed, stamped, measured, valued, assessed, patented, licensed, authorized, endorsed, admonished, hampered, reformed, rebuked, and arrested. It is on the pretext of corporate well-being that you are taxed, drilled, exploited, monopolized, extorted, hoaxed, and then, at the least resistance, at the least word of complaint, to be repressed, abused, annoyed, followed, medically evaluated, which I was, and thank God my wife found out I was sane, bullied, harassed, judged, condemned, betrayed, mocked, ridiculed, insulted, dishonored, and finally fired.
Good evening, I'm L.A.STEEL. Tonight I'm with a very special guest by the name of Joe Besade. He is one of the original whistleblowers of Northeast Millstone nuclear power plants. And I'm very, very happy to have him on the show. A man of great courage and conviction, and we're here to have Joe explain his involvement with this and how it started, and to hope that the public learns more about the problems that are facing the community in this area and in the state regarding the nuclear regulatory commissions, the state governments, all of the problems surrounding nuclear power in the state and around the country. Joe, what got you started in this, and what I think I should ask first, you are a plumber. Yes. And give us a little bit of your background and how you started with this program, and what got you involved.
I've been in this town for over 40 years, and I had my own plumbing and heating contractor business. Right. So that I hold a master's license in 2 fields. 1973, I decided, well, maybe I'll give up my own business and chase the big money over at Millstone when I heard, what the salaries were. And instead of working 80 to 100 hours a week to yourself, I went over there, and they had pretty good benefits and all. And it wasn't until once I got over there that I realized that you had to wear blinders as far as what took place.
Now this was back in what,
1973? This is a 73. So that we finished up building Unit 2, and at that time I realized that the General Foreman carried a gun. There was things that went on over there that were, something I never saw on the outside.
So why was he carrying a gun?
When you talk big money, you're talking, there's a lot of, I want to say possible corruption and other things that come along with these things. I don't wish to go into that at this time. Okay. What it was is, I saw then the contractor was working at Cost Plus, which was a big tel company. And we're getting down to money. In other words, every piece of paper cost $50 to have it processed, whether it was a 10-cent item on there or $1 million valve. See, in other words, so that you start to observe, and then you're told to stretch out the job. In other words, give you 2 weld joints, one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
Now, how much state and federal funding was involved with that particular project?
I can't give you the exact dollar amount on Unit 2, but if you'll let me jump to Unit 3, sure. Unit 3 was supposed to be, I think, less than $1 billion, so and ended up being 3.4 billion due to cost overruns.
3.4
right,
billion.
and the cost overruns are the things that I had witnesses that would come forward and prove that the wells were falsified with the X-rays, and the QC inspectors for Stone and Webster, the contractor at the time, was snorting coke.
Now these welds that you're talking about. Now, were these the welds to the reactor?
They could be anywhere. They could be anywhere in that whole job site. There was maybe 1,500 pipe fitters at the time working there, and exactly where these wells all took place, I'll be honest with you, I can't tell you.
But there were.
But the part that upset me is when I had a meeting with the NRC. They got me onto site, and I was able to show the site superintendent, site inspector for the NRC.
Right.
This joint that was held together for 18 years with duct tape.
God.
On Unit 3 turbine building, and his reply was he didn't want to hear any problems over 5 years old. So when I told him about the X-rays and the stuff that were falsified, it was the same answer. He says the only thing you have to worry about, this whole turbine building can fall down because that's not the nuclear one. The one you got to worry about is the one that's encased in concrete, which would be containment, where the reactor was.
Right.
So I was concerned then as far as the people that they had working there,
right.
whether they were licensed. I did see where the union turned around, and because they control the Department of Consumer Protection, had access to the questions to the test when the journeymen went up to, they were supposed to go to Hartford, but there was 80 of them at that time that they wanted to requalify welders up to Class 4 pipe steam fitters so that they didn't have to hire from other locals and flood the local. But they had the flashcards, and I saw them at Millstone.
So they were actually cheating on the test.
That's right. See, but
now, what unit is this? Is this
this would be, I was on an outage show. That'd be Unit 3.
No, a union. I mean,
local at that time was Local 305, but now it's merged to Local 777.
Which is the welders union, or which is
it's plumbers, steam fitters, and welders, and they had oil burner men, but I guess maybe they dropped them out because they bring oil burner men because the unions could furnish bodies on these nuclear plants where there was a lot of radiation being absorbed. So that's why the unions had control.
Were these people that were getting these jobs or going for the test or applying for these, were they aware that they were being exposed to radiation?
Oh, certainly. Majority of them were the welders, I'm going to say, were the expert welders that came on electric boat. They came in 93 at one time. Because when they started this Unit 3, they need qualified welders to work on these exotic materials.
Right.
And believe me, anything that I learned about welding, I learned from these fellows, so that I'm not knocking them. They were experts in their field. It's just that I was resentful how they got their license on the with the politics and all. See, because the union representatives, and they're still there to this day, control the Department of Consumer Protection, heating and cooling, and the plumbing boards.
They do.
They do, because they're the only ones that are familiar with nuclear. So that these other gentlemen that are up there, volunteers and all, at these meetings I go to and videotape once a month, they are oil burner men, or the plumbers are just plumbing. See, the plumbers were always looked down on a nuclear plant. Right. But we knew more, about the old-fashioned piping and all, other than the exotic welding.
So who are the now, Joe, who are the hierarchy in the trades in that and in the union at that point, and even today, who are the hierarchy of tradesmen? Was it the welders, or was it the?
No, well, first of all, it'd be the members of the board on the union, with president, business agent who dispatched the men at that time to the jobs.
But who actually had the highest degree of knowledge and expertise going into these positions? In other words, there was the plumbers, there were the welders, the steam fitters, and so on. Who would be more aware of the dangers that were present and the problems that were?
I would say that, I have to give a lot of credit to the welders, see, because we're pipe fitters. In other words, it was up to us to take and fit it, make sure that it was with gauges and all, that it was all set to weld. But it was up to them. They're the ones that had to take tests in order to be able to work on any nuclear plant.
But the
So
majority of these people
right.
were not qualified, or were not certified.
They were certified. A lot of them had they certified in many different categories as far as what types of material they were working on.
But the tests were
Right.
legitimate because they were given
But the thing
crib
was,
sheets to use.
right, but the union had it so you had to have one fitter
Right.
and one welder in order to do a job, see. And the welder was supposed to just weld, not fit.
Right.
See? So that the state would come out with a requirement that you had to have a fitter's license in order to work on the nuclear plants. So nobody ever, other than complained because you didn't blow the whistle on your brother.
Right.
Otherwise, they took care of you one way or the other.
Really?
Yes. In other words,
Yeah.
slash tires, mothball crystals down the tank, or
Right.
like I say, we knew about the weapons on the job, and
Yeah.
some came in carrying, guns in the trunk and etc. When they thought there was going to be a rumble.
Really? Was there a rumble? Or
No, they stopped at the Waterford police were there that night. I was told that when this all took place, they turned on the lights. It was going to be a rumble between New Haven people and fitters and our local.
Really?
Yeah.
Over this particular
Something over some issue,
Yeah.
The other thing too is to make the job last longer.
Right.
That's another trade we have was the electricians, which had an internal organization known as the Fleas, and their job was to take and sabotage a job and make it last longer. See, and I'm told to keep my mouth shut, or
Yeah.
pay the consequences. So that
So these were
I turn to the camera. That's my safety, and I made sure that the tapes are not what you see here is not all of them. There's
Right.
stuff that's going out. That anything happens to myself or others, that there'll be somebody to know to go looking for.
See, we're for the viewers that we are in Joe's studio here, and as I mentioned, Joe is an archivist, and he has a tremendous amount of tapes. I mean, how many years have you been videotaping and collecting documents on these problems?
I'm going to say since I became a member of the Citizens Regulatory Commission. That I believe is 1996.
96.
And even though I have newspaper articles that go back to 1978,
Right.
that I, accumulated,
Right.
mostly on Millstone. Let's see, what else? Now, well, it wasn't until the 80 outage that my daughter got hurt over there. She was a security guard
At the plant.
at the plant, and she got caught in an ammonia spill. The second time she got hurt in 2 weeks' time. The first time was a sulfuric acid came down through a pipe sleeve,
Oh,
and she
my
got
God.
burned.
Was that due to a faulty weld, or is that
No,
due
that's
to
not to a
problems that
well.
were-
This was
something else?
in other words, they must have had a leak on the second floor, and it came down through a pipe sleeve and burned her with the sulfuric acid. So the next time was she was en route doing between station with a fellow officer, and they got caught in an ammonia spill in the condensate polishing building. And she made it out, but she had to go back. He had passed out, so she went back and she got a double dose. So here she is now, 20 years later, and her lungs are going. She's got has to take insulin every
my
day,
God.
and she's no immune system, so that I could lose her at any time.
Now, Joe, aside from the tragic accident of your daughter, now has she been compensated at all? Have they covered her medical expenses?
She
Have they
has
done
to. Right now she's on Social Security, and every time that she had an attorney, and I was told by her that when she first started this 20 years ago that you couldn't sue a utility.
You couldn't sue for utility.
Well, or the plant or whatever. I mean, this is what her attorney is supposed to have told her. I'm only repeating
Sure, no, I
what I've been
understand.
told. So that every time that she got a settlement, they'd appeal it, and she'd have to go back to the attorney and fight it.
Right.
And in order to get a doctor to say that, what her problems that she has now came originally from that was very hard. She had to travel around. I had one of her lungs collapse.
Why? Because of the power of Northeast, or because of the type
I'm
of
going to say the
element?
system. There's with, you know, if the attorney says you couldn't sue, you know, I only wish that I had a little more, so that I could give you information. Right now, I haven't talked to her in a little while, because she's sometimes will come forward with things. Other times she's very quiet. She won't speak, and that upsets us. You know, her mother might.
I can imagine.
But the thing is life goes on. So
now, how many other incidents like your daughter's, and how many other
now she has
tragedies have happened
her boyfriend started over there as a security guard, and then he went to work for Northeast Direct in the laundry.
Right.
Now again, she's telling me that 2 or 3 have died. He's got tumors now. He's very, very ill. He's 43 years. From radiation.
From radiation?
They believe it, see. And that there's also tumors or other people that have passed away that worked in that same laundry. With me, I've gone to Connecticut College and spoke on a health forum where I've gone through my union booklets that come out once a month.
Right.
And at that time, there was 42 pipe fitters died of cancer. I can't say they all worked at Millstone, but 8 of them that I knew at that time, that's maybe 2 or 3 years ago, worked with me in the reactor on these outages when we had to go in and
have there been
pick
any?
up radiation.
Has anybody claimed Northeast as responsible, the radiation as a reason for that?
No, not to my knowledge. I've witnessed
it
is, and it's very hard to prove. And the same thing with the cancers in the area. We have people now that are just recently. We tried to get up one of our witnesses at the DPUC meeting to listen. It was DPUC. I get them mixed up now. I'm sorry. I get excited. And they wouldn't listen. We had 2 witnesses. One's that came over from England who were paid for was paid for by Christy Brinkley out of New York, the model. In other words, they're joining us. Yes, New York is joining Connecticut. They have Citizens Against Millstone over there, right. And our organization is Connecticut Coalition Against Millstone, and we have an office in Mystic, Connecticut, of which Attorney Nancy Burton is our president, and she's doing
eventually.
Right. So that there's a lot's going on in the past year where Nancy's been working pro bono. This last time we went to court, there was 13 of Northeast and attorneys, and just Nancy and 2 witnesses.
Now, has Nancy been? Has she or what firms have represented some of these claims or some of these injured parties? For instance, your daughter or others?
Well, that one would be Matt Schaffner, I believe, in Grodin. He's one of the ones that was most heard of with Northeast, with Electric Boat, I believe, with the asbestosis and things like that. Now
is there been any class action suit or multiple lawsuits against Millstone for this, or has anybody compiled information?
Well, the only thing is this outfit that I'm with has turned around and sued Northeast Utilities when I opened up the Connecticut chapter of Fish Unlimited as far as killing the flounder.
Right.
They still are discharging chemicals of hydrazine into the Niantic Bay without a proper permit. For the past 3 years, the Department of DEP has given them a temporary permit, Millstone, Northeast Utilities. Yeah. Now, this new company bought out, Dominion bought out, as of last month, bought out Northeast, and they still don't have a proper permit. They're working on a temporary permit for the past 3 years to discharge the hydrazine. The fellow who was working on it and working with us from the DEP and kept us informed just got killed with an accident, a boat fell on him, and that was... I'm trying to think of his name, and
that's okay.
Okay. All right, I'll get to it later.
That's okay. But now explain the use of this particular hydrazine.
Yes.
Now this is used as a cleaning agent to flush out their piping.
Right. By cleaning out the mussels and the seed that go into the pipe and choke it off.
I see.
In other words, the openings in these tubes and these heat exchangers have to have a tremendous amount of flow of water, so that these pumps are pumping 1 million gallons a minute.
Okay. Of water.
Well, salt water through these systems, right? To cool it.
To cool the activated.
Heat, right. And so that hydrazine and all these other things. So that what happened is we had a chemist, James Plum,
Right.
who was one of the 104 that got laid off maybe a couple of years ago. So that he came forward. He was one of the original whistleblowers also, and it ended up the Northeast Utilities paid a $1.2 million fine. The money for discharging illegal chemicals, they let him out at nighttime and all, and it was due to his coming forward. The money was dispatched or spread out, I'm told, to different organizations, of which a few $100,000 went to the Mystic Sea Aquarium, of whose Governor Rowland's wife sits on the board of directors.
Oh, for God's sake.
So,
yeah.
and now,
nothing,
at that time,
nothing has been given to any fisherman, anybody in this area?
Not at this time. Right.
Right.
So that I've gone to the Attorney General with this license violations and all. There was a total of, the union turned in unlicensed people at Millstone because they wanted to work. Before, this was PCI, Power Cutting Incorporated, and as long as they put a union man with them, even if he just sat there, didn't know a darn thing, the union didn't say a word. See, they let these companies work. So when these companies got smart enough and started doing the work at all and eliminating them, that's when the union fellows who are on the board today, the Heating and Cooling Board, turned in the non-union for having unlicensed people. Well, I turned in 2 of the fellas who out of the 3 as plumbers doing steam fitting, and they were breaking the law. So that they saw to it from then on that I didn't work. In other words, the union.
Right. So you've been blacklisted by the union and by
right, but also the utilities and the contractor. In other words, when I met with the site superintendent, one day after our first meeting with the Citizens Regulatory Commission at Oswegatchie School, is when I first was getting involved. I asked him questions next day at open house. This Don Miller Jr., who's been replaced by 2 or 3 others since then. There's been musical chairs at the top. Right. I says, you know, I understand that the business agents is allowed back on the job. This Mr. Champlin. Oh yeah, he says, yeah, we went to dinner the other day. See, so that there we are. The union has control and can furnish the bodies, whether they're qualified or not. Right. When it comes to radiation, see, and there's big money involved.
That's the things we do to keep it true. But I think of those that gave their all, and I wake at the mirror on the wall, and I drink to those who aim to remain undone. See, don't look back, Jackie, don't look back. Look what's coming on down this track. Ring a bell or 2. It's so old, it's new. Turn around. Hear me, you had big things to do. Gonna change this world. Here before we're through, we gonna right them wrongs. Sing them freedom songs till freedom's won. Now I lay me down to rest. I dream of friends that I love best. The good they done is all that remains. Not a stone left to their name. But I think of those that gave their all, and I wake at the mirror on the wall, and I drink to those who aim to remain undone.
I'm L.A.STEEL. This program is part of a 5-part series to inform my viewers of the great and present danger facing our state, our country, and the world. That danger is nuclear power. This series is a tribute to the valiant men and women who have placed their lives, reputations, and livelihoods on the line to speak out against the corruption, evil, and blatant ignorance and incompetence of the management, unions, government agencies, and individuals responsible for the construction, operation, and safety of the Millstone Nuclear Power Plants in Connecticut. Joe Besade, who is featured in this series, is a Northeast utility whistleblower and the Anti Millstone Coalition Archivist. Joe has dedicated the last 8 years of his life to this cause, unpaid, underpraised, and under constant threat of his life. He has remained true to the cause and mission to film and document all available information regarding Millstone activity to prevent its reopening and to seek justice against its ongoing violations. To Joe and all the other men and women involved in this great and noble cause, I give my highest regards and respect. Some have lost their lives, families, friends, and professions to disclose the corruption that has placed the lives of millions of people in grave danger. It is because of their unselfish citizenship and the great sacrifices of these courageous men and women that Millstone has been closed down for the last 3 years. We, as citizens of the state and this country, must listen to and realize the debt we owe to these great men and women for their courage, their honor, and their decency. The 4th and 5th program in this series is my interview with attorney Nancy Burton, activist and leader of the Anti Millstone Coalition, a woman of great conviction and determination, to whom we in Connecticut owe a great debt of appreciation.
In the background of Millstone 1, Millstone 2, Millstone 3, and not far away is Connecticut Yankee. 3,300 megawatts of technological folly, technological cost, and near technological disaster. Back in the early 70s, when I staked my opposition to nuclear power, we were told there were going to be 1,000 nuclear plants in the United States by the year 2000. There will be no more than 120 because there hasn't been a firm order for a nuclear plant since the early 70s, actually constructed. Millstone 1, 2, and 3 are shut down for what the Nuclear Regulatory Commission calls safety review. But we know because of the conscientious whistleblowers who stood tall and might well have prevented a true disaster here in Connecticut, that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission could no longer be indifferent and allow waiver after waiver and other concessions to the mismanagers of these plants. Indeed, it took a Time magazine cover story earlier this year to get the Nuclear Regulatory Commission moving. Our country needs to move toward energy independence through energy efficiency and renewable energy. That subject is not even being discussed by Clinton and Dole, even though we are importing half our oil, even though we have horrendous problems of radioactive waste disposal and increased risks from decaying nuclear power plants that are aging. In the early 70s I said it, and I say it today. We must shut down United States before we have one major disaster.
The whole thing is, what bothers me the most is I try to tell people from the very beginning that the DPUC turns around and allows the utilities to pass on any expenses to the consumer, which is you and I, you know, of Northeast Utilities at that time, before they just went through the regulation. So that it's all good old boy system, see? Now when you go up there and you watch and videotape like I have, hour after hour, I may not catch it the first day because I'm too busy watching the audience, whether it be the NRC or any one of these other ones. The NRC where I couldn't speak, I wanted to dig and dub into these, my own tapes. Watch the one in the yellow or the gray suit, but he's lying, see? And because they wouldn't let you speak at these meetings. All it was, the only thing that picked it up was that camera. It's not my memory or my, so that anybody else can take and watch a tape and make up their own mind as what's taking place. And believe me, with hundreds of hours behind it, I don't want to call myself an expert, but even now I have trouble because when they used to use acronyms, being a layman, I'd have trouble trying to figure out what they said. It'd be one paragraph ahead of me. See? And it wasn't until I went back or I tried to research what was going on.
Once you figured the semantics there, the lingo they were using.
And they didn't want you to know because it was too complicated. So I used to go to the Waterford library and I'd get the newspapers for the week, being unemployed, and I'd go through them and then I'd go and make a 10 cents a copy. I'd turn around and make of the issue and put it into paper, which I put into the 3-ring binders, along with the other head whistleblower was going to Norwich. That was Don Delcor Sr. And that was where the main information was going from the NRC up there to their nuclear room. What I'd get was just 3-ring binders, so I'd make photocopies of what they had, and this told me of what some of the violations were, plus when the next meetings were going to be. And it wasn't until I became a member of Fish Unlimited where they mailed me direct now that when the next meeting is going to be in our area. Like I say, the figureheads at the top, the ones with the NRC who were there in the beginning have now been promoted or retired. The ones that were responsible for working hand in hand with the utilities, some of them retired and got a $10,000 bonus.
Now, who are the members of these of the NRC?
I can't tell you.
Who make up the board? I mean,
the president normally he nominates the people to go on the 5 commissioners, 5 or 6.
As the president
of the United States
nominates these commissioners,
right?
And these commissioners then are placed in each state.
No, just in Washington. In other words, there are different regions.
Now, who's in charge of the regions, or how are these people?
These people changed at the top musical chairs.
And how are they chosen, and how are they appointed, or are they?
I believe they're appointed. Right, some of them have backgrounds of nuclear. Or the other thing is the utilities would grab a retired Navy man off a nuclear sub right off the bat. Anybody that's nuclear trained, see, and that's where they got. Pro-nuclear still is people over there that would still think pro-nuclear to go. And we're scared stiff now that they're liable to start up with 5 or 6 brand new plants. See, they've all been down since Chernobyl. Well, not Chernobyl, but 3 Mile Island.
3 Mile Island. Now, Joe, how much of this is known or has been brought to the attention of Joe Lieberman or Chris Dodd, or what are they doing to support or to alienate themselves from this or distance themselves from this project? And how
the only time that I saw Lieberman is when Shirley Jackson, who was the chairperson of the NRC, came to Waterford after we requested it, and I saw him lead her through the room. Then he left for the evening when the meeting went on. Chris Dodd, I can't say that he's done that much.
He doesn't do very much.
Well,
I mean, he's not seen very often unless he's behind Bush or somebody in
Right, and
some
we got
Republican.
nowhere when we had the Citizens Regulatory Commission as far as having Gadenson. He came down and talked to us. He was
Yeah,
also didn't do anything.
yeah.
In fact, I don't miss him now that he's been replaced. So that I'm hoping this new Senator Simmons, goes forward.
Gadenson's replacement.
Yeah. Now, we've had so many people that we've talked to as far as guests on the show. In other words, this nuclear safety issue show that we had 4 live shows a month on cable, Eastern Connecticut cable, and Susan Perry Luxon was the host, and her husband Charlie, and we had all us volunteers on the cameras, and the soldiers in the background. And to this day, Susan was brought forth George Galatis, who eventually got into Time magazine, and that's what helped us. The NRC was embarrassed, and they finally shut it. They didn't shut them down. They were to investigate, and Northeast shut themselves down for 2.5 years. They spent $1 billion on not on repairs, but they did, right. So that the NRC is, as I used to look up to them for being, our savior and all, because I was trained under the Atomic Energy Commission before that was dissolved and this NRC took over. Right. And that was a QC foreman, and like I say, nuclear trained as far as
you knew what you
were supposed to be. And then we find out that the NRC isn't going to bite the hand that feeds them. See, they had over 3,000 employees at the time I got involved, $500 million a year salary and all, of which each utility pays for a license fee or something to the NRC yearly, and then they split up any information that comes out of the plants across the country. So at that time there was 104. Now I think maybe there might be, I could be wrong, but maybe 96 or something. They're closing down. They're finding out nuclear is not the way to go. All we hear is how.
This is something I want to ask you. Since the Bush administration is so energy conscious here, and we have these problems that arise, do you see this as have you heard or have you seen Northeast or these mills? Are they going to be becoming active again? Are they going to become a viable part of the energy of Connecticut?
The nuclear end is scaring me, because now they're going to turn around. At one time they talked about burning the plutonium left over from the war effort, the bombs and all. They want to mix it in with our uranium and burn them in the nuclear plants to get rid of them. In other words, there's so much stockpile in this country. Right. And what bothers me is they can't get rid of the waste they got now. In other words, the spent fuel pools of high radiated fuel are full. So now they're supposed to take it out, put it in, go into dry cask storage. This was what they were going to do with Millstone before it was bought out by Dominion. Okay. Connecticut Yankee is in that process now. They're having their radiation, the containers and the concrete cast are being prefabbed in Japan. They're going to weigh a total of 157 tons. And they're putting a cement slab out there, and they'll put these, take the fuel out underwater, put them in like a thermos, 3 inches thick, supposed to be, and then put gas in there to get rid of the water, and then weld the top shut, see? Right. And then put that inside of a second container, which is supposed to be 30 inches thick of concrete, reinforced concrete, with an opening in the bottom and in the top. So that the ambient air is supposed to go through, take the excess heat that's still coming off of this high radiated stuff and out the top. But if an animal or snow blocks off that bottom hole, then it's not going to work. It's going to take an effect.
Now these are buried. These
aren't buried. These are going to be sitting up on an open field.
On an open field?
Subject to 2,000 anti-tank guns that are in this country. See? Well, there's books been written on this already.
My God. I mean, who is in charge of these things? I mean, who makes these insane policies up, Joe? I mean, my God.
See, I know I'm jumping from Millstone, but
but I mean, this is a serious concern. I mean, I thought that they had actually, from what I had heard or knew about, was that they had shafts of 25 or 250 feet feet or 2,500 feet down in the ground.
Well, this is what you're talking about now. This is Yucca Mountain. Yucca Mountain has machines.
Yeah,
I just seen a videotape on it. In fact, what it is, the people from Connecticut Yankee on their organization down there are going to send a few of them down to Yucca Mountain. I would have wanted to go, but seeing I'm, you know, one of the enemy, I'm not privileged. But I would have liked to have gone, and as a critic, to see what the hell's going on, because we're told that that's not the answer. It won't be ready. It was supposed to be ready now, and it isn't maybe the year 2010. And then they'll start shipping either by rail or whatever means to get it from across country.
What are they doing with it now?
Most of the time, right at this present time, there's nothing that's above ground. It's being in spent fuel pools that are filled to maximum. They can't put any more. They've been re-racked from big racks to small racks, right? So that they got more in here, which is causing problems. They have to add different minerals and stuff to keep it from acting up. And it's also, they're 40 feet deep, except the one in Millstone, one is 80 feet in the air, see? The other ones, some of them are in the ground, on ground level. And they're all stainless steel lined, but that is supposed to be the safest place for them, as long as they've got water going through and keeping them cool, see? And now they're going to turn around.
But this is, this radioactivity, this is, how long does this last?
Oh, well,
years
once this higher level waste gets out, if it gets to Yucca Mountain, it'll be 2,500 years, I'm told. See, 2,500 years. This is, but all we keep hearing is how, oh, we really need these things, and I'm told that some of the big oil companies own quite a bit of the, maybe the mines and stuff where this stuff's coming from. See, we were always told that...
That makes sense, yeah.
Well, that's it, we're back to big business again, see. And sometimes it's too much for me to comprehend as far as when they start talking billions. I mean, with me, I'm still
it's overwhelming.
Talking hundreds. I mean, we're a long spread.
It's overwhelming.
So that they are, I'm afraid now with this new company that just bought them out, this Dominion. I know what I just went through with Northeast, but as far as I'm concerned, all this, what you see here in my archives, you can't do anything. Nobody's held accountable. Nobody goes to jail. They admit that they lied, and, you know.
Well, what is it? I mean, what's going on, Joe? I mean, you know, what is going on? I mean,
as a layman, I get back to two things that they used to tell me. He who has the goal makes the rules, and the one with the most money wins. Maybe this is always the way it's been, I don't. But the thing is, it's us little fellas who keep speaking out against what we believe is improper.
We hope that somebody's going to listen out here.
Well, this is it. And it's hard because every time I try to talk to somebody, pretty soon I can see in their eyes when I lost them. You know, and they, you know.
I mean, the remarkable thing is, I mean, you'll have people watching this show tonight going out and investing in Millstone. Oh, it's starting up again. Yeah, let's go. You know, I mean, you got some really cockeyed idiots out here.
This is,
you know, and it's like, to me, I mean, it's beyond a national concern. It is now a national disease.
We don't need it. We don't need it.
What fuels this kind of mentality where we ignore you.
We don't need the nuclear plants. You saw that they were down for 2.5 years and we didn't have any brownouts.
Exactly.
If they turn around and invest in some other source of you know, healthful, you know, hydro or
whatever,
sun power or whatever.
Solar,
Solar. I've been to different one of those meetings, but it costs so much right now to get a kilowatt hour, to get that price down. It will eventually if you had enough people working behind it, but they won't do that until they can see profit at the end, see. So that these new owners who bought out this Dominion company that bought out Northeast Utilities, the NRC, they're the greatest, see. And they're telling Dominion is the greatest because they own all these other plants and they got millions of customers now. They've got the gas customers, so that whether it be gas or nuclear, they're buying up all these plants and they're buying them at one time the plants were going for 10 cents on a dollar.
Now, Joe, your commitment to this is obvious, and I'm impressed. And I have been impressed since I met you and first found out about your efforts. But your own sacrifice in this is I think what inspires me, and I hope inspires our viewers to act. You have suffered some severe threats, intimidation. Explain to us what it is to be a whistleblower and the kind of commitment that you have, and what is your, you know.
Okay, well, the thing is, whether it be the union, the contractors, whatever, their attitude is, you're not going to win. Do what you got to do, because they figure they're sitting on all the aces. And you have to believe in what you're doing, which I believe what I'm doing. Before I was pro-nuclear because I was making that big bucks, and then I could see how others wouldn't come forward. Their wives are telling them they're intimidated. These kids need orthodontist work or doctor's work. Don't you open your mouth, because they saw what happened to the other whistleblowers. Instead of being appreciated, they lost everything. You know, I was one of the fortunate ones that I had a wife that stuck by me, and I'm not a religious person, but nevertheless, somebody must have been looking for me up above, because we're still together and we're still going ahead. I'm afraid now of this new outfit that's coming in and taking over this Dominion. I'm really, I know that Millstone is still in existence. They're going to make millions of dollars with the transportation of the electricity, the manufacture of it is Dominion.
Right.
And these people here, it hurts restructuring. I think that was it. Where the ratepayer has to pay. You know, it always leads back to the dollar.
Your involvement became. Your involvement really became a way of life. It became a commitment to a cause and to a personal.
It has to be a cause. Now I'm going to tell you, I never finished high school.
Oh.
See, I'm a high school dropout, yet I hold a master's license in 2 fields. See, so I'm not exactly a dunce. And anything I learned from elders, and I respected people. Sometimes you can learn from the dumbest person. This I found, see. When I went into the union contractor told me there was great men. There was men who took great pleasure in how little they could do and collect a day's pay. Or there was other men that sell their soul for 15 cents. And I laughed at them. See? It was my first union experience. Until I got on my own business and I found out, he was telling me the facts of life.
Oh, yeah.
So that...
you can imagine what they do for $15 million.
Oh, definitely. And money, I don't know. I don't think they have a conscience. And then politicians, they start off, they may have the right idea, but once they get in there, they find out they have to play ball with the ones that are in power, whether federal government, state, or whatever. Yeah. The local ones, we stand a chance. But once it starts going up the ladder,
they're sold. Bought and sold. But now, where do you see this movement going right now? Where, as a viewer, where should we concentrate our efforts to get this to stop this plant? And
the only way I could see you could stop them is if they can't make money at it. See, they'll stop themselves. That's one person comes and says, "Look, turn around and don't pay your light bill."
Right.
See, the only thing is I found out that Northeast Utilities was selling their accounts receivable.
Oh.
See, something that I could never do as an independent contractor or anything else.
Sure.
So they had the money to work with all the time. See, and now they cried poverty when we went before the DPUC, right? Mike Morris was the new chairman, and they cried they didn't have any money. Now they're turning around giving $500,000 away each time now since they split up.
Right.
They're for goodwill.
Right? Goodwill and scholarship
right.
funds and this and that and everything.
When I used to go through Niantic to try to get people to sign our petitions and stuff, that, oh no, my husband works over there, or my son works over there, so you had an intimidation there.
Yeah.
And
It's like
that's the frustrating part about it. You're trying to explain to them what's taking place over there, and there's a lot of people wouldn't swim in the bay for fear of the chemicals that are out there now and still being discharged out there.
It's like this grand philanthropic attitude that's pervasive in this country. Like, you know, like Philip Morris doing such great work and addicting the entire world to cigarettes, but now we're giving away a few pencils here or a few computers there. But I understand that, and Northeast is great. You see all their wonderful, you know, buying out these colleges.
The armies.
Oh God, it's frightening.
Armies of lawyers and accountants working for them, and we're the ones who pay. The other day when I was in the courtroom, I happened to observe. I figured the judge, the attorneys, everybody there was being paid by us. See?
Yeah.
Whether it be state taxes or the utilities, right? So here we are working pro bono, and there's 13 lawyers on their side with, you know, they're
getting $150 an hour. Yeah.
Peanuts. That's some of them up to $5 and all that, whatever. Yeah. But the main office. So I was really pleased to find that this is the first time that the state of Connecticut showed up with their attorney to fight with the DPUC last week. In fact, I got his card. I'd like to get cards from the different people involved as I go in, because I have trouble remembering. This was a Randall L. Speck, and he's with this...
now he's the attorney for the state?
Yes, for the DPUC. This is on the Connecticut Yankee issue. He come up with very good points through the whole, I'm going to say from 9:30 in the morning until 7:30 at night. The tapes are in there. I just rewound them. I haven't had a chance to edit them. And I went up and I'll give credit where credit's due. I told him that when I saw him come in with the head of the DPUC, who I have lost respect for, Donald Downs, because he threw out one of the cases. The fellow from Ledger, that was a member of the commission, took over himself, and that's when they decided that Northeast could, they end up getting their own way. In other words, that's why I'm saying that they're in bed with each other. And there's big business involved, politics, or whatever. And who pays? You and I, the consumer. This is what's frustrating, and this is what I wish the public out there can understand.
Yes, the things we do to keep it true. But I think of those that gave their all, and I wake at the mirror on the wall, and I drink to those who aim to remain undone. Say yes. Don't look back, Jackie, don't look back. Look what's coming on down this track. Ring a bell or two, it's so old it's new. Turn around. Hear me, you had big things to do. Gonna change this world here before we're through. We gonna right them wrongs, sing them freedom songs till freedom's won. Now I lay me down to rest. I dream of friends that I love best. The good they done is all that remains. Not a stone left to their name, but I think of those that gave their all, and I wake at the mirror on the wall, and I drink to those who
mentioned your editing. I'd like you to take a look at part of Joe's studio here. You've got an elaborate set of a lot of equipment here,
Right.
But explain some of this.
All right. Well, I could turn them all on so that you could see each one was on. But the thing is now,
it's been pieced together.
Right, with all yard sale equipment.
With all yard sale equipment.
That's right, and a few donations. Now, there's a VCRs under each one, and I had to go through over 3 dozen VCRs from yard sale items. Some would play, not record, and all. This instrument over here I bought from was supposed to be able to stop videotape, and I could make a Polaroid picture of it, of that one frame. Right. But the fellow, I think he's passed away since then, who sold it to me, and he never did give me the okay on it. See, and the VCR that worked with this one, and I could adjust it back and forth. I had to bring back to the repair shop, and it's sitting there because it needs a $150 motor, and it's also one of the tapes that Northeast furnished me when I insisted that they owed it to me. See, Connecticut Yankee, so that I could adjust the this instrument or the set to make the photo. I could even get their eyes open and closed. But yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. See, but never was able to follow through.
Because of the lack of equipment.
Well, that's it, and also money. When I went to the nobody ever saw this unit before. Every dealer doesn't know what I'm talking about. The thing is when we were building it, my general foreman told me, look, there's a bottle of inert gas over there that you're supposed to blow out your line when you get it all made up, the 1/2-inch stainless tube, and to go to the control, blow it out because of dust and there's any other particles that might be in there to affect the control. So that they had repiped the containment building 3 different times. Pipes will get bent, pretty soon he says, look, just make sure the bottle's there for show.
Oh my God.
Then my men from out of town come in and say, Joe, we found nails in the full length. Well, what that makes you, if you're any kind of an individual, you're not going to listen to what you're told. You want perfection. Yeah. I do anyhow. I'm 2 miles from the place, and I don't want it to blow up.
Yeah, exactly.
See?
Yeah. They found nails in the piping.
Yeah. See? And whether they were put there accidentally or, sabotage, who the hell knows? I can't say. All I know is this is what takes place, and I want perfection.
Right.
I've been a perfectionist. And maybe that's why I wasn't able to become successful in business, because I wanted it done and done right. So that when I went over there to a nuclear plant, they said, Joe, you want to be foreman after 3 months? I'm a new hire. And I said, wait a minute, I'll ask around. And the young fellow I went to work for, his name was Chip LaPut. He was 28 at the time. He says, Joe, he says, you do what you want to do. He says, but I'll tell you right now, you're not powerhouse oriented. Oh. And to this day, I respect the gentleman. Yeah. We've had conflict since then, but the thing was, I would have burnt myself out looking to get it done right. And I find out now that it was all, I want to say smoke and mirrors. In other words, they're telling you they want it, but they really didn't, because the more they could drag it out, the more money you made. Cost plus, the contractor Bechtel made it. Stone and Webster, I was told by one of their fellows who became a vice president, he was my area foreman at the time, a white hat. Stone and Webster had a different setup. They were only going to get X number of $1 million to take and build Unit 3, so that they, it wasn't to their benefit to load up the job with men. And any men that they needed, Northeast Utilities paid just that package. In other words, they paid the hourly wage plus the benefit. Northeast didn't make any money. Stone Webster didn't make any money on the labor per man, but they made their money on engineering. Or they'd hire these white hats to come in and be supervisors, and they had a bid on their jobs and all, and that's where the money was made, the labor pool that they had, and they knew how to work, and we're talking millions.
So the cost overruns that you said, it was projected at 1.3 or 1.4 and wound up being 3.
No, she wasn't even supposed to be 1.4. It was less than $1 million, less than $1 billion.
Less than $1 billion.
Right. I 800 or 900 million.
What year was this now? Again, too, because this.
Oh boy, here's where I get stuck with the years.
So, well, in the decade, it was 70.
Yeah, because it was
75.
Let's see, 73. And 2 years, maybe early 80s.
So it was in the early 80s that
Yeah, but the plant had been started. That's the other thing. The containment was supposed to have been built over a fault.
right, over a fault.
Yeah, and then they put in concrete, certain type of concrete, which is now oozing up and coming into the floor drains. See, all of these things the NRC knows about, and that's the other thing with
Yeah.
Archivist, the NRC. They just write all new paperwork on it, all new rules and regulations and stuff. It's all taken care. They take care of everything with a pencil.
Now this new company,
Right.
they got time now to another 3 years or whatever to respond to the regulations, or
This is
something.
like I say, this is a new paper company they formed, right?
Right.
But they own all these other nuclear plants down south or other parts of the country.
Okay.
I don't know, but it's 4 or 6 of them.
Now, Dominion, is that they're a national company?
I believe so.
A national company.
Right.
Okay. Are they an international or just national, as far as you know?
I believe it's just national with millions of customers is the way it's worded. They have the gas customers and
Right.
the nuclear or
Right.
whatever. But they are known for laying off 25% of their workforce as soon as they...
As soon as they come in.
Right, so now the state of Connecticut says they can't lay anybody off for a year at Millstone. Yet Northeast is playing ball with them ahead of time. They were laying them off since January of this year.
God.
They've already cut
Yeah.
back on the numbers, all right? And this is the other thing is, who are we going to have over there that's going to have moxie enough to come forward? I want to use another word, but I'm saying
Yeah.
moxie.
Yeah,
To
definitely.
come forward as a whistleblower once these new people take over. See? They saw what happened with us, and a lot of our own people are burnt out, tired,
Yeah.
and maybe that's what they're waiting for me to do is,
Just waiting for you to stop.
well,
Or to go away.
either I go by Smith & Wesson or I go by tuberculosis or,
Yeah.
not,
Whatever,
asbestosis. So, I'm going to hang in there as long as I can and keep doing what I'm doing because I believe that I'm on the right track. I do get people that thank me for what I'm doing. Not that that takes and pays any bills or anything, but it sure as hell it gives you the incentive to know that you're doing right.
And there are a number of other people that are speaking out as well and,
Right.
and contributing.
These
to
are
the cause.
new ones we've been involved with now. Don Delcor and I went over and we met. I videotaped it over in Long Island. At I don't know the gentleman's name. Now he was a Broadway actor at Sag Harbor, and he also came to march on Millstone. And then from there we got others involved. Was Christy Brinkley, Billy Joel, Christy's new husband, Mr. Cook, Connecticut. No, Citizens Against Millstone is another new thing that opened up.
Okay.
When we went to at another trip to Long Island, there was Don Delcor, Pete Reynolds, Joe Besade, Nancy Burton was also there. That was with FEMA and the NRC, and they were the people of Long Island were concerned because they were 11 miles from Millstone, and the cutoff limit is 10, so the radiation isn't going to stop 1 mile from going. So that they have no evacuation route. During the summertime, they got so many thousand people along the North Fork and South Fork of Long Island that they can't get off the island.
Right.
These people here are now coming around to
Realizing the danger.
well, yeah, but I say that we were 3 years ahead of them, and I've been trying in my own little way to assist them, with
Right.
whatever ammunition I have here.
Right.
The other thing is somebody hired a boat equivalent to my Joy 747. Cost the gentleman $5,000. He brought over people from Long Island to have an armada to meet with our side, but we never had a communication back and forth. So first thing we did on our side, they had a Winnebago, no nukes on it, and we went to Waterford Beach in Connecticut, and we had the banners, and the wind was blowing quite rough, plus there was fog out in the distance, but I could see the ship heading towards Nyack. I said, well, we better move. So from there, we went to Nyack in the center of town. I could see the ship still moving. I said, all right, let's go to McCook's beach, and that way we can get a good shot at it. Come to find out, see, that's closed to the public during the summertime, but we had the Channel 30 news people with us, and Susan Kinsman of the Hartford Current, and so I was able to talk our way into McCook's, and the boat had turned around and shot back because everybody was seasick. We didn't know it. We couldn't keep track.
I get it. You brought up an interesting.
Right, but the thing is, from there we went to Millstone, and I walked them around the fence, right? And we get over there to discharge, and I'm showing them the discharge tunnel where all of the chemicals come from, and the radioactive waste that gets through the system or whatever into the 110-foot quarry,
right.
See? So I'm videotaping this and showing them, and then I look over and I say to John Sablone, we got company. He says, I see him. So what it was 4 of the security guards coming down from Millstone, all packing guns and all. And people have to leave. So there's a father and a son fishing down there, and my man says, what are they doing here? Well, they're fishing. I said to the fellow, you're not eating them fish, right? He says, no, we're catching and releasing them. So the guard, and I'm videotaping all this.
Right.
So for one, I shut my camera off for a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
The cop goes down, picks up the line of fish, and there's the bluefish on it. So he was going to take him home.
Right.
So he comes up and he's mad. He said, I don't want the father. He said, I don't want him to be on TV. I said, I'm not going to put you on. He says, yeah, but the Channel 30's there. You know, I said, well, you talk to them. So on the way out, right, the guard's telling me, hurry up, fella, get out of here. So in the meantime, I'm dilly-dallying and still videotaping the whole thing. We get up and the head man got his badge. He said, I don't want to be on TV. I said, okay, don't worry about it. You know, and I already called his name because I could see it on the name tag.
Right.
They said, well, how come that fella can fish? Well, if you've got somebody that works in Millstone, or you work there, you can fish. Right? And there's always fish there because of the water temperature. The bait comes in, and the big fish follow the the food chain.
So the warm water brings the fish in, but are the fish edible? Are the fish?
Well, that's purely up to you. I don't know how long they've been there or how much they picked up as far as the chemicals, the hydrazine, or what that affects on them. We later on, years later, we get this experts come from, like I say, from England and tell us what parasites and what harmful things can happen. We use that as our experts in the last law case. So that at the time, I got it's just, you know, if you have a friend that works at Millstone, you can go fish there. See, because they took away all the guards. There used to be armed guards in the guardhouse, and so they're liable to go back up now. And they threw us off.
Wow.
You know. And that's not the first time.
My question to you, Joe, is now you had Channel 30 out there at that time, but are there? We see nothing anywhere in the media about Northeast Utility and Millstone.
We've had
we see nothing mentioned about any of this, and what is happening here.
The local newspaper, which was the day paper, that had Paul Shornier is the one that's been on it quite a bit on the Millstone subject. The other thing is, as far as some of these reporters that came to the different meetings on Millstone, whether they be at the town hall, if it was a 4-hour meeting, they'd stay an hour and a half, and they take notes, and then Northeast PR people would take them out into the hallway, and that's what appeared in the paper the next day.
Oh.
See?
Yeah.
To me, that's not free speech. And with me, sometimes I was the only opposition there with the camera.
Right.
And I picked up things later that I brought forth, you know, that took place at those meetings.
Right.
Which makes some people too happy. The camera don't lie. I don't make this stuff up.
No.
You know, and hopefully that maybe with the proper guidance, an investigative reporter is what I was looking for.
Right.
Somebody there to write a book. In other words, like this fellow Jeff Benedict. That's, you know, he's an attorney, and not like what I had the first time. My first person was
Your first attorney?
No, it wasn't an attorney. It was just, you didn't know.
Oh, the person who was going to write the book for you.
Yeah, she was a school teacher or something, see, and then when she went through the divorce and all, you know, that fell through. That was a year's work lost.
Right.
You don't know, I think you can appreciate how many hours I let her, we did most of ours. We didn't have cameras, so we did it with audio and recordings, and then she'd write out a transcript, and and I'd look at it. Oh my God! I'd read 10 pages out of 60, and I'd be so internally, my stomach being knots. See, and she wouldn't always get the exact meaning of what I was trying to say. See, and then you'd have to rewrite it. And this is just like this interviews that we have here. You can't go all, if it's a 4-hour meeting, you can't give 4 hours of what took place. You have to try to pick out the highlights. Right. And hopefully I can make sense to somebody else that might be observing this.
I think you're making a lot of sense to me, Joe, and you're making a lot of sense, I believe, to a lot of viewers. And I'm appalled, and I'm shocked, and I'm ashamed, actually, in a way, speaking to you, because my lack of knowledge in this area and my ignorance of these issues, frighten me. I tend to pride myself a bit on being aware of issues, but this has been so contained and so covered up and so quiet and so regulated that the public hasn't heard about it.
No.
Nobody understands how dangerous this is, and how it's affecting so many lives and so many generations even to come in Connecticut and around the country, and especially I think what blows me away is the total lack of planning, it seems, even to dispose of this stuff. Okay, after it's used. I mean, they're going to put it in these cans made by Japan.
Right.
I mean, we're putting our nuclear waste designed by Japan, okay, into these containers made in Japan, and putting them on top of the ground somewhere.
I don't know if they designed them. It could have been our engineers designed them.
But it's still bizarre. Right. Is there anything that, before we close the show tonight, is there anything that you'd like to add and directly to the viewers?
Well, I'm going to try and look for the younger generation. I'm getting along in years, and who knows how much time I got left. I keep saying that I have a visual aid of a 6-foot ruler, carpenter's ruler, and I open it up, and 72 inches is the average man's life. This is my age. I got more years behind me than I got left, so that I can do more for my grandchildren than leave with monetary things. At least I can leave more to a safe environment. Right. What we need is young people, college educated, I believe, although I'm a lay person, anybody that can believe it in their heart, see, and not be intimidated. That's the other thing too, intimidation.
Right. To stand up for
I can see where there's people that it's going to be harder for them to come forward, and especially now with this new outfit, it's a whole new ballgame.
Now, Joe, if people want to get hold of you, okay, or the organization, I believe we Nancy Burton,
Attorney Nancy Burton, yes,
Attorney Nancy Burton, and we will put up we'll put that up at her number up at the end of the show, and you can reach down to her for any information that you may need, or if you want to get involved with the organization. Joe, would you like to leave our viewers with a word of advice or a word of warning, or?
Well, what it is I like the young folks to get involved. We know we need is what I say is new blood, and regardless of what the organization is, whether it's ours or anybody else, but to go out and get educated and stop being brainwashed by the boob tube, as far as the ones that are controlled by big business. I'm hoping that these channels that, like these shows we're doing, is you know darn well that there isn't any money. You and I are probably doing this for gratis. With others, I'm afraid of when I find out that Westinghouse and GE owned a majority of the the TV stations and the newspapers controlled by big business. They print only what's favorable to them. And the thing is I keep thinking of David Blockbaum, with the concerned scientist. It's not if there's going to be an accident, it's when. So that we're not just talking Millstone.
We're talking everywhere.
We're talking everywhere, and I have great respect for these gentlemen. Sometimes I'm not too happy with the article where it looks like they're trying to side with a utility, but they're the only ones that we have to look forward to as far as the education, people that are educated in that field.
Right.
I think that's about it for today, and
Well, that's fine. I appreciate what you've said and what you've done and the commitment you've made to this cause and to helping the people of Connecticut and people around the world waking up to the problems that we're facing with nuclear reactors and nuclear energy and the problems of nuclear waste and the horrible intimidations that are placed on people who are trying to expose these crimes, and we intend to do quite a bit more of this in the future on our program, and hopefully have Joe on again.
well, this is the other thing. I want somebody held accountable. I want to see, instead of the fines mean nothing to them.
No.
And in fact, like I say, they write it off at the end.
Right.
I want to see somebody pay like you and I would pay if we committed a crime.
I think it's time for justice. I think it's time that the people understand what's going on and hold these corporations accountable. And I want to thank you very much, Joe, for being on, and we will see you again.
All right.
Thank you very much.
We are Northeast Utilities, who operates the nuclear facilities. The NRC provides oversight function to ensure public health and safety through its licensing and inspection processes. Our job is to ensure that Northeast Utilities is doing its job, and we take action when they do not. We expect you to hold us accountable for overseeing Millstone performance.
We gathered together on that night to honor the whistleblowers from Millstone Nuclear Power Station. We wanted to honor their courage, their determination, and their integrity. We also wanted to validate their concern and their sacrifice. There's no way we can ever give them back what they've lost. Their emotional losses, their psychological losses, and their financial losses. That's not possible now. But what we can do is give them our gratitude and our admiration.
John J. Delcor, we the members of the Citizens Regulatory Commission would like to let you know how proud we are to call you our friends. It takes heroes like you to help people like us to become safer, wiser, and stronger individuals. Thank you. We love you. I'd like your spouse to come up because we know how much it means to have a partner who's supportive and helpful, especially when you go through something like this. So we have something for you too. Leona, we have something for Leona. Thank you, Leona. Arnie Gunderson. We, the members of the Citizens Regulatory Commission, would like to let you know how proud we are to call you our friend. It takes heroes like you to help people like us to become safer, wiser, stronger individuals. Thank you. We love you. Mr. O'Sullivan, Timothy O'Sullivan. John Delcor. Clarence C. Reynolds. Clarence C. Reynolds. Anthony Ross.
We have to write them letters, and we have to get this congressional review. We have to get rid of Mr. Bush and Mr. Fox, or next year the tape, we're going to need 2 more tables.
wrong. See, I just getting to know you, James. I didn't think there for a minute.
I might be naive, but someplace in my heart, I believe truth will win out.
Joe Besade. And last but not least, Mr. Conley from We the People.
CNN did a 1.5-year investigation of We the People's allegations and confirmed every single one of them. The film was shown worldwide.
Big smile, Joe.
Here's to the battles we've won. Here's to the things that we've done. Yeah, the things we do to keep